Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Tom. Really glad you could join us today for, well, quite an incredible story.
And I'm Amy. It's great to be here as we explore the life of a true musical giant.
Today, we're looking at Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a name everyone knows, obviously. His music is everywhere. But how much do we really know about the person?
That's what we're trying to figure out. We've looked through quite a bit of material, mainly a very detailed Wikipedia entry, actually, to pull out the key moments, the, surprising details, the things that made Mozart, well, Mozart.
Our aim is really to give you the essential story, the fascinating bits, so you feel you really understand him a bit better.
Exactly. We want to get past just the genius label and see the man, his struggles, his triumphs.
And just a quick note for everyone listening, we do this every day, but Thursdays are always our day for talking about famous historical figures. So you've picked a good day to tune in for Mozart.
We're going to take you on a journey, really, through his life, trying to understand not just what he did, but maybe how his life experiences kind of shaped the music we all know.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The whole child prodigy thing.
Hmm.
It's almost mythical, isn't it? But it was very real.
Oh, incredibly real. Prodigy almost doesn't cover it. He was born in Salzburg, January 27, 1756. His parents were Leopold and Anna Maria Mozart.
And sadly, typical for the time, many siblings didn't survive infancy.
That's right, 5 of his 6 siblings died young. Just him and his older sister, Maria Anna, who everyone called Nannerl. She was musical too.
And their father, Leopold.
Yeah.
He wasn't just dad, he was deeply involved in Wolfgang's musical education, right?
Absolutely. Leopold was a composer himself, maybe minor, but a very experienced teacher. He was Wolfgang's main, maybe only formal instructor early on. Music was just central to that household.
So how early did Wolfgang's talent actually show?
This is where it gets pretty amazing. Nannerl herself remembered that Wolfgang when he was just 3 years old.
3? Seriously?
3, he'd watch her keyboard lessons and apparently start, picking out thirds, these nice harmonious intervals just by ear. And he clearly loved the sounds. By age 4, Leopold started teaching him little minuets. And by 5, Wolfgang was already composing small pieces. Leopold had to write them down for him because, well, he was only 5.
These are the very first pieces in the Köchel catalog, the K numbers, right? K15, recorded in Nannerl's music book.
Exactly, the Nannerl Notenbook. There's a bit of debate if he was 4 or 5 when he composed the very first one, but the point is, it was incredibly early and incredibly fast.
It sounds like Leopold was dedicated, but Wolfgang had his own internal engine driving him too.
Totally. Leopold fostered it for sure, but Wolfgang had this innate drive. Apparently, his first ink-covered composition attempt, and even trying to play the violin without instruction, that was all his own idea. It kind of surprised Leopold.
So Leopold realized he had something truly special on his hands.
He did, and that led to the famous Mozart Family Grand Tour. We're talking 1762 to 1773.
That's over a decade of travel and performing.
Yeah, imagine. Little Wolfgang, starting at age 6, and Errol, performing all across Europe. Munich, Vienna, Prague, Paris, London, The Hague. Multiple trips to Italy.
Performing for royalty, I assume?
Oh yes, courts and aristocrats. But it wasn't all glamour. The travel conditions were primitive, lots of waiting around for invitations, and they faced serious illnesses. Leopold got sick in London. Both kids nearly died in The Hague.
A tough life, despite the surface appearances. And in London, he met someone important.
Right, Johann Christian Bach, J.S. Bach's son. He was a big influence. And Mozart composed his first symphony in London, age 8. Though Leopold likely helped transcribe it.
And what about that story in Rome? With the Miserere.
Ah, yes, the Allegri Miserere. The story goes he heard this famous, closely guarded piece of Vatican music twice in the Sistine Chapel, and then wrote it down perfectly from memory.
Creating the first unauthorized copy.
That's the legend. Whether it happened exactly like that is debated, but it definitely speaks volumes about his incredible ear and memory, and how quickly his reputation for genius spread.
So you see this dazzling early success, this European tour.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think he was set for life, but his actual career path was much rockier.
Much rockier. After the tours, he ended up back in Salzburg, employed from about 1773 to 1777 as a court musician for the Prince Archbishop Hieronymus Colloredo.
Did he like it there?
Well, he had friends. He composed a lot violin concertos, that amazing piano concerto K271. But he was increasingly unhappy.
Why was that? The money.
The money was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Just 150 florins a year. Not much, even then. But more than that, he really, really wanted to compose operas.
And Salzburg didn't offer much opportunity for that.
Very little.
Yeah.
Especially after the court theater closed in 1775, he felt artistically constrained,
Yeah.
limited.
So he tried to find something better elsewhere.
Exactly. He took leave and traveled again in 1777-78. Augsburg, Mannheim, he loved their orchestra. Paris, Munich, still looking for that better position.
Did he find anything?
No permanent post. He wasn't keen on an organist job in Paris, and tragically, this trip had a terrible personal cost. His mother, Anna Maria, who was traveling with him,
Oh,
she fell ill in Paris and died in July 1778. Some think maybe they couldn't afford proper medical care. It was a really low point.
that's awful. And he still had to go back to Salzburg after that.
Eventually, yes. He got a slightly better post-court organist, 450 florins, but the dissatisfaction was still there, simmering away.
Which brings us to Vienna and the big break with the Archbishop.
The decisive moment, absolutely. 1781, Mozart was summoned to Vienna because Archbishop Colloredo was there for some imperial celebration.
And Colorado didn't treat him well.
Treated him like a servant, made him eat with the valets and cooks. Deeply insulting for Mozart. But Mozart saw Vienna as an opportunity. He wrote to his father saying he wanted to meet the emperor, build a real career there.
But the Archbishop wasn't having it.
Not at all. Things escalated. Mozart tried to resign. Colloredo refused. Then, the final straw, Mozart goes to see the Archbishop's steward, Count Arco, to hand in his resignation again.
Oh.
And Arco literally dismissed him with a kick in the arse.
You're kidding. A literal kick.
That's the account. It was shocking. A real revolutionary step, as biographers call it. Mozart decided right then to stay in Vienna and make it as a freelance artist. His father was horrified, but for Mozart, it was freedom.
Wow. So after that rather dramatic exit, how did things go for him in Vienna initially? Did it work out?
At first, yes, surprisingly well. He quickly made a name for himself. People were calling him the finest keyboard player in Vienna. He even had a sort of piano duel with Muzio Clementi in front of the emperor.
And his composing career took off too.
It did. In 1782, his opera, Die Entführung aus dem Seraglio, The Abduction from the Seraglio, was a big hit. Really cemented his reputation as a composer, not just a performer.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. His personal life in Vienna, there was some drama there too, wasn't there, involving the Weber family?
Oh, yes. He actually moved in as a lodger with the Weber family. They'd moved from Mannheim, and the father had died.
And he'd known them before.
Yes, he'd been infatuated with one daughter, Aloysia, who was now married. So his attention turned to her younger sister, Constance.
And the courtship wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
Not at all. There was a brief breakup, apparently, over some parlor game where Constance let another guy measure her calves. Mozart was not happy about that.
Seriously.
That's the story. And his father, Leopold, was dead set against the marriage. It all came to a head when Constance actually moved in with Mozart before they were married. Quite scandalous then.
So they just went ahead and did it.
Pretty much. They got married on August 4th, 1782. Apparently, Leopold's letter giving his reluctant consent arrived the very next day. Talk about cutting it fine.
What a story. And they had children.
They had 6 children together, but very sadly, only 2 survived infancy. Carl Thomas and Franz Xaver Wolfgang. Just a heartbreaking reality of the era.
Musically, though, these early Vienna years sound incredibly fruitful.
Hugely fruitful. Around 1782 to 1787, he really got into the music of Bach and Handel, thanks to a connection with Baron Gottfried van Swieten. You can hear that influence, the Baroque complexity, weaving into his own style.
More counterpoint, more intricate textures.
Exactly. It added another layer of depth. And he also formed a really important friendship with Joseph Haydn.
Ah, the famous quote, Haydn telling Leopold.
Yes. Haydn told Leopold Mozart, essentially, your son is the greatest composer I know, personally or by reputation. High praise from the master himself.
And Mozart was performing a lot, his piano concertos.
Oh, constantly. He was mounting his own concerts, often premiering 3 or 4 new piano concertos each season. He often performed in slightly unusual places, too, like large apartment ballrooms, not just theaters.
So financially, things must have been pretty good during this phase.
It seems so. They lived well. An expensive apartment, a nice fortepiano, a billiard table. Mozart loved billiards boarding school for their son, servants. He was earning substantial money.
But he wasn't saving much.
Apparently not. He lived quite extravagantly. And around this time, 1784, he also joined the Freemasons, which became a very significant part of his life and influenced works like The Magic Flute.
Okay, so this period sees huge artistic growth, especially in opera. But you mentioned finances became an issue later. How did that happen?
It's one of the sad ironies. After Die Entführung, he teamed up with the librettist Lorenzo da Ponte for 3 absolute masterpieces. The Marriage of Figaro in 1786, Don Giovanni in 1787, and Così fan tutte in 1790.
Cornerstones of opera still performed constantly today.
Absolutely. But even then, their complexity was challenging for audiences and performers. And sadly, his father Leopold died in May 1787, so he didn't see these later operatic triumphs.
And around this time, his financial situation started to worsen.
Yes. In late 1787, he got a part-time court appointment as chamber composer for Emperor Joseph II. It paid 800 florins a year, which wasn't huge, but it turned out to be an important safety net.
Why did things get worse? He was composing these incredible operas.
Well, towards the end of the 1780s, Vienna's economy suffered partly because of the Austro-Turkish War. The aristocracy had less money to spend on music and patronage. Mozart's income reportedly dropped sharply, maybe by 2/3 compared to his peak years.
That's a huge drop.
It was. He had to move to a cheaper suburb, though some say it was more about needing space than saving money. And he started having to borrow money frequently, often from his friend and fellow mason, Michael von Puchberg. We have these quite desperate letters.
So even Mozart was struggling financially. Did it affect his output?
Some scholars think he might have been depressed during this period. His output maybe slowed a little, although he still wrote masterpieces like his last 3 symphonies and Così fan tutte. He also took long trips, Leipzig, Berlin, Frankfurt, trying to drum up work, often without much success.
It's just amazing he kept producing such incredible music through all that. And wasn't there a near miss with another future giant around this time?
Right. The young Beethoven visited Vienna in 1787, apparently hoping to study with Mozart. We don't have any reliable record of them actually meeting, but imagine if they had.
Okay, let's move to his final year, 1791. Sounds like things might have been looking up again.
In many ways, yes. 1791 was incredibly productive, a real burst of creativity, and maybe some personal recovery, too.
What did he compose that year?
Some of his most beloved works, the opera, the magic flute, the gorgeous clarinet concerto, his last piano concerto, K595, the beautiful motet Ave Verum Corpus, and of course he was working on the Requiem.
And financially, any improvement?
It seems so. He was getting some annuities from patrons in Hungary and Amsterdam selling dance music compositions. He actually stopped borrowing so much and started paying back his debts to Puchberg. And the Magic Flute was a huge public success, performed many times before he died. Things seemed to be turning a corner.
But then illness struck.
Yes, tragically. He first felt unwell during the premiere of another opera, La Clemenza di Tito, in Prague that September. By late November 1791, his health collapsed rapidly. He was bedridden, suffering from swelling, severe pain, vomiting.
And he died very young.
Only 35. He died on December 5th, 1791. He was apparently still very preoccupied with trying to finish the Requiem right up to the end.
There are myths surrounding his funeral, aren't there? A pauper's grave, bad weather.
Lots of myths. His funeral was modest, yes. He was buried in a common grave, which wasn't a mass pauper's grave, but a standard individual grave for a not-aristocrat at that time. These were subject to being dug up after about 10 years for reuse, which is why the exact spot was lost. And the story about a storm and snow, apparently false records show the day was calm and mild.
And the cause of death itself is still debated.
Still uncertain. There are literally over 100 proposed theories. Acute rheumatic fever is a common one, maybe a streptococcal infection, kidney failure, even things like poisoning, though that's less credited now. We'll likely never know for sure.
So a short life, a modest end,
Right.
but his reputation afterwards.
Exploded. Almost immediately after his death, there was this huge wave of enthusiasm for his music. Biographies started appearing. Publishers were racing to put out complete editions of his works. His legacy just soared.
What do we know about him as a person? His appearance, his habits?
Descriptions say he was small, thin, pale, with fine, fair hair. His face was marked by smallpox from childhood. He apparently had a soft speaking voice, though it could get quite loud when he was excited. Loved elegant clothes, often wore a wig in portraits.
Worked hard?
Extremely hard, long hours. Sadly, his wife Constance later destroyed many of his working sketches, which is a huge loss for understanding his process.
Any interesting quirks or hobbies?
He loved billiards, as I mentioned, and dancing, kept pets, a canary, a starling he apparently taught tunes to, a dog, even a horse for a time. And then there's his famous fondness for scatological humor, which pops up quite startlingly in his letters, and even some musical canons he wrote for friends.
Right, that always surprises people.
It does. Shows a very human, maybe slightly rebellious side. He was also fluent in several languages, thanks to all that childhood travel.
And his music itself, what defines it? Why is it considered so central to the classical style?
It's often described with words like clarity, balance, transparency. But it's not just pretty. There's immense power, sometimes real violence and sensuality, as one critic put it, in works like the Piano Concerto Number 24 or Don Giovanni.
And he wrote in so many genres.
Mastered them all, really. Symphonies, opera, concertos, chamber music, church music. And he didn't just write in them, he pushed them forward, technically and emotionally. He had this amazing ability to absorb styles he encountered and weave them into his own unique musical language.
That's why we have the Kokol catalog, right, to keep track of it all.
Exactly. The K numbers, or KV numbers, give a unique ID to his more than 800 known works, makes referencing them much easier.
And his influence on later composers.
Immense, obvious influence on his student Hummel, but also giants like Beethoven, who admired him hugely and wrote variations and cadenzas for Mozart's works, and Tchaikovsky, who even wrote a tribute piece called Mozartiana. You could argue his influence touches almost all Western classical music that followed.
There's that famous quote from Einstein, too.
Oh, yes. Albert Einstein said, Mozart's music is so pure it seems to have been ever present in the universe waiting to be discovered. Which I think beautifully captures that feeling of perfection and inevitability you get from his greatest works.
It really does. Well, that brings us towards the end of our exploration into the incredible life and the truly enduring legacy of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. What a life, what a talent.
Absolutely. A short life packed with so much intensity, genius, struggle, joy, sorrow. It's a powerful reminder of, what one person can achieve and how art can resonate hundreds of years later.
We really hope you enjoyed joining us for this look at one of history's absolute titans of music. Thanks so much for listening today.
And don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking about a really interesting book we've been looking at.
So make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening so you don't miss that or any of our daily discussions. We'll catch you next time.